You are now listening to the Just Corrections podcast with your host, William Young.
Can we just get this show on the road?
Dead inside as a means of self-defense, unsympathetic as a way to self-preservation. The story of my life, the story of how I have, as so many other correctional professionals have, built up this wall and developed this crust to protect my humanity in the face of chaos. Greetings, my fearless frontliners, my fellow guardians of the galleries. I'm William Young, and this is my podcast. I want to talk today about being calloused. I want to talk about the crust that we develop as correctional professionals, as people who work in high stress, high stakes, low trust environments to maintain our sanity. But before I explain, before I break all of this down, I want to take a moment to thank the members of the JCP, the Just Corrections Patreon community, for sponsoring the channel. Without your support, without your contributions, I could not create the content that you're consuming right now, so I truly appreciate it. And if you're watching or listening and you want to contribute, consider becoming a member. There are different tiers, or if you'd rather support the channel in another way, click the thanks button that you see at the bottom of the screen and make a small donation. It really helps the channel get going. So let's talk about this. My wife and I, as a way to reintegrate me into society, started going back out into the world. Started going to museums and movies and malls, right? As I get ready to transition out of corrections, as I have been on this journey to be happier, healthier individual, part of that is getting out and being around people. So that's what happened the other night. We were out in an area in our area called the Old Market, which is just like a little downtown area that has some shops and these super expensive apartments. And you guys know, or maybe you don't know, but some of you know that I've been on this coffee kick, a coffee adventure, this coffee journey, and I need to have a cup of coffee in the morning. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and in the evening, and so we're searching downtown here for this little corner coffee shop to sit, to talk, to sip, to drink, and we found it. We went in, so I got my go-to. I got my salted caramel latte, and it was super good. We're sitting out on the table on the corner, and we're just watching people. We're just people watching, and we're talking, and a couple of individuals were standing not too far from us right there on the corner, and these people were homeless, and they're standing there, and they start digging in the trash can that's just, again, about 10, 15 feet where we are, and I'm still talking, and me and my wife are still having a conversation, and this really doesn't capture my attention, but my wife becomes fixated on these people that are just a few feet away from us, digging, scavenging through the trash, right? What are they looking for? What are they doing? Are they trying to find cigarette butts, whatever? And she's watching them, and they find some food, and they start eating the food that they dug out of the trash can. And my wife, God bless her sheltered heart, is mortified, and because she in her lifetime has never seen another human being eat food out of a trash can, and it really bothered her. And it was such a stark contrast for her, because here we are sitting, sipping a $12 latte, a $12 cup of coffee, 10 feet from another human being that is eating other people's leftovers out of a trash can, and it broke her heart. Now that, my friends, is a normal reaction. Human suffering should cause a reaction from another human being, right? People should want to reach out and help people should they see something like that and want to act, want to talk about it, want to try to solve that situation, intervene in that situation. And so that's not what was unusual for me. See, as she's reacting and she's seeing this, I had no reaction. I had no reaction because I have watched, I don't know, dozens, if not hundreds of individuals eat out of the trash. It's a pretty common occurrence inside of a correctional facility for your unit to have a trash can man, to have somebody who is digging through the trash or scraping extra food off of the trays that the inmates don't eat, right? That the other inmates don't eat. And honestly, watching somebody eat out of the trash is not the weirdest thing that I've ever seen in my life. But what struck me was that I have become so calloused. The crust that I have developed is so thick that watching another human being eat out of a trash can, witnessing, right, human disparity, human suffering right in front of my face, made me feel nothing. It was just another day for me. So when I think about my apathy, and I think about the way that I no longer feel things, and I look for a reason why those things have taken place, I feel like there's a direct link to my experiences inside, my experiences throughout my life, and to my training, my conditioning as a correctional officer. But not just that, my conditioning as a human being to not want to feel pain. So I shut off certain emotions. I suppress certain emotions so I can survive because honestly, feeling hurts too much, because when you feel and you acknowledge problems, you have to deal with them. And so we don't want to do that. And sometimes we do that intentionally. Sometimes we do it unintentionally. And that's what I write about in my new book here, Train to Change. When I talk about emotional suppression, when I talk about our training, when I talk about the necessary ways that we have to behave, right, to survive in corrections, in a career in corrections. And part of that is shutting off the part of us that feels for other people. Look, we can't panic when somebody drops in front of us and is having a seizure. We can't believe everybody that tells us their sob story. We can't sit and cry and be sad with them, because we have a job to do. We have a job to do, and part of that job is keeping people alive. And if you're falling apart, sorry, I say fall apart. That's my correctional brain. I apologize. What I meant to say is, if you're reacting and behaving like a normal human being is supposed to react and behave, you won't be as effective at doing your job in the moment. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is the hard sell for staff, is that the things that are considered normal for you, for me, the things that we have been accustomed to, the things that you no longer acknowledge because you've developed this crust, people eating out of a trash can, people painting their rooms with their own feces, blood, guts, nudity, masturbation, threats, swearing, fights, fentanyl, strip searches. All of those things change you. Exposure to those things, long-term exposure to those things affect you. They affect us. And that's what I need you to understand. That's why I talk about things the way that I talk about things, because you need to understand that although you may not be incapacitated by your injuries, it does not mean that you are not injured. See, I want you to understand the impact of these tiny little cracks that develop over time before they become one gigantic fault line. I want you to understand that if you shut off your emotion, if you shut off yourself and you don't understand that you're doing it, don't realize that you're doing it, and don't know how to turn it back on, it may cause you problems down the road. I want to talk about my brother-in-law here for a minute. My brother-in-law took his own life a couple of years ago, and for the 2 years prior to that, I was in contact with him quite frequently. And in response to his ideation, his threats, I guess my job, at least what I made my job, was to intervene. My job was to talk to him through his hard moments. My job was to try and keep him alive, which is what I do on a daily basis inside as a member of the crisis negotiation team and with staff as well. And here's what happened. Here's what happens sometimes. I'm trained to hear things. I'm trained to say things, talk about things, and keep an emotional distance and ask tough questions and then field the difficult answers without reacting. Now, that's a beautiful gift. That is a skill that I've worked on for a long time, and that's the problem. It was so automatic for me. Those things are so automatic for me. I was so good at my job that I forgot to be a person. I was connecting without connecting. I was interacting without emotion, if that makes sense. And now I say that to say this. There is no debate in my mind that our environment changes us, affects us in some way. What I'm asking you to do is to be open-minded enough to admit, to entertain the idea that maybe something that you have seen, heard, experienced, lived through, been a part of, has changed you in a way that you wish that it wouldn't have. And instead of waiting for it to build up, instead of waiting for an eruption or an explosion or a situation where you wish you could be human and you can't be, start working on it now. Start getting help now. Start talking to a therapist now. Start getting back into society now, because our world inside is not the world. What is normal to us is not normal. It's fucked up our perception of what is, and maybe that's fine with you, and maybe you're good, and maybe you're okay, and if you are, that's totally okay. It's okay to be okay, and it's okay to not be okay. But unless you take a self-inventory, unless you reflect, then you don't know. So what I'm asking you to do is just to take a look. Right? To take a self-inventory, to look at the things like people eating out of a trash can, to see how you feel about it. Can you feel that? Can you still feel things like joy, like empathy, like happiness, or are your emotions out of whack? Are you happy? Do you even want to be happy? Those are the things I want you to look at as you navigate your life, as you navigate today, as you go about your business today. I want you to look at that. I want you to look around and see the things that are happening in front of you for what they are, and then see how you feel about those things, and then talk about them or write about them or journal about them and figure out where you want to be, and then move in that direction, move towards that goal. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me today, for entertaining my psychobabble, my ramblings, for entertaining my perspective. I know sometimes it's I get long-winded and things get a little crazy, but I appreciate you hanging out with me. Hopefully there is something that you can glean from every video, every conversation that we have, because when I look at your comments, when I get your feedback, I certainly get little things out of that. And if you've listened to me, it just takes a seed, right? It just takes one little thing to one little seed to grow a forest. I heard that the other day. One seed becomes a forest, and I love that. So, guys, again, thanks for hanging out with me today, for listening to, watching this episode of the podcast. New availables coming out every day, coming at you 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Set a reminder on your phone, your calendar. In the description, there's a calendar invite. If you click on that, it'll put it on your calendar. It'll send you a reminder every day, so you don't miss it. Subscribe to the show, follow the show, watch the show, do whatever you want with the show. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, the Just Corrections podcast. And if you're interested in supporting the show or becoming a member of the Just Corrections Patreon community, please consider. There are different tiers, different options. So check that out. I have a link to that. I'll put it in the description. So don't forget to check out the books as well. The Nothing That Never Happened, Train to Change, and When Home Becomes a Housing Unit. All the links are in the description. All the books are available on Amazon. Everything's on Amazon. And if you'd like to bring me out and speak or present at your event, then send me an email. justcorrections.booking@gmail.com. All right, guys, that's all I got. Until next time, be smart, stay safe, stay sane, and don't just watch people eat all the trash. Do something about it, would you?